Yo, what's up guys? It's Legend and I am back with another video. What if Naruto became feared by the Viltrumite Empire Part 5? If you want the next part, get this to 7 likes. And now let's get into the video. You know the rules. We can't do it. Naruto took a deep breath to center himself. It helped, if only just. His temper sparked to life in him, roaring like a wild beast, itching to lash out at the two men seated across from him. He took a hold of it, wrapped it up, and stuffed it into a box. He knew the Mahler twins weren't to blame for Polly's plight. It wasn't their fault, really, it wasn't. Venting his anger on them served no one, least of all himself. Just breathe, in and out again. He pinched the bridge of his nose to silence an oncoming migraine. He did not succeed. Explain, he said softly. Meeting at a diner come Sunday morning seemed cliché, but no one would dare bother them here. Not with him around at any rate. The Mahler twins sat across from him, devouring a stack of pancakes with brutal dispatch. They'd best. He was the one paying for all this. You're asking us to transfer her consciousness, the leftmost twin said between bites. It doesn't work that way. We duplicate. His partner brother. He'd never really understood how that worked carried on in his stead. He mentally named them right and left. Easier to see who was who that way. What you're asking? We've never done that before. How's the wife and kids, anyway? Kids are good. He took a long, languid sip from his glass, savoring the bite of orange juice in the early morning. They fell asleep as soon as we got home. Your house is still standing. Surprisingly, it's large enough for the 5 of them to run around and get lost in. A rare, rueful chuckle escaped him. I left a full staff of shadow clones behind too, just in case. Even and the others will be occupied for hours once they wake up. Now explain. The Mahler twins exchanged a long, lingering look between one another. Like we said, Left began warily, we can't do what you're asking, not easily at least. Growing a new boy for your wife. Yeah, we can do that. But her mind. He laid his hands on the table. You'd have a clone of your wife walking around. Not knowing who the original is works for us, but we're pretty sure it won't go over so well for you. You'll essentially be creating another. Well, her. That won't work out so well. You're asking me to let a version of my wife die. So a healthier version of her can live, right? Interjected. There might be a way to transfer her to a healthier body, Left added, but it's not our specialty. Not like that. Never mind the fact that growing a body would take time. We can't just scoop out her brain and put in a new host. That takes time, and even assuming we get it just right, there's a million things that could go wrong. And then there's the matter of the actually body. You want her to stay a weak little human. We could make her more than that. Make her stronger, faster. It's not what I want, it's what she wants. Naruto bowed his head with a sigh. I'd like nothing more than to make her indestructible, or untouchable, but Polly likes being human. Asking her to discard that would be, he ran an exasperated hand through his hair, trying to find the proper word and failing. It would be like cutting off her arm. I'll talk to her when she wakes up. When she wakes up. Healing trance, he muttered. Should give her a few more days at least. A few more days, when they shout have had years together. And wouldn't that be a lovely can of worms to open? The Mahler twins looked between one another again. Right spoke Fist. Speaking of talking. Word has it you've been making moves. A blonde eyebrow rose. Wherever were they going with this? Define moves. You tussled with the guardians of the globe and wrestled with Omni-Man. His brow climbed higher. How do you of all people know about that? The madman preened, just a little. We have our own sources. Right. He sighed. You can keep the money I gave you. Left scoffed. But we haven't done anything yet. He stood, paid the tab, and left. You will. Time for another visit. Wake up. Cecil Stedman jolted upright in his bed with a start. His hand fumbled for the pistol he always kept beneath his pillow. A hand caught his wrist and locked down tight, grinding nerve against bone. He looked up and sure enough, found Naruto standing there at his beside, towering over him, silent as the grave. The last time they'd spoken he'd been frozen and filled with dread. This was worse. Those soulless blue eyes gazed down upon him as one might an annoying gnat, or a monkey. He found no compassion in that gaze, no empathy, no emotion at all, none that he could see. Somehow what was worse, anger he could guard against, sorrow he could deflect, jealousy he could use, but he couldn't tell what the bastard was feeling. Worse, he'd gotten to him in his own bed. Damn it, kid, don't scare me like that. To what do I owe the pleasure? Fire Shadow didn't say a word. Didn't make a sound. Didn't even seem to breathe. He just stared. Not for the first time, Cecil found himself hoping Steven Erikson was burning in hell. He'd unleashed this, him. Sure, he might have turned a blind eye to it, refused to believe that his old friend would go to such obscene lengths in the name of their country, yet he had. Someone must have pushed him to it, poured poison in his ear, bribed him, maybe. Why else would he countenance such madness? He had to say something, do something, because that silent stare was seriously starting to unnerve him. You gonna glare daggers at me all night, or are we gonna talk this out like adults? A slow tilt of the head was his only reward, at first. And then, you should have known better, Cecil. 6 little words, and yet they put the fear of God in Cecil Stedman right and proper as only one other man could. No, his mind bleated in a brief, irrational moment. Not yet. Surely he hadn't worked his way up the chain of command that fast. Not even he was that quick. It hadn't been a week. Even the legendary Fire Shadow wasn't so fast as to go through an entire government in a single night. You're right, I'm not. He scowled. Since when are you a telepath? I'm not. Naruto released his hand, leaving him to massage his aching wrist. It's written all over your face. I can see it plain as day. His gaze shifted to his other limb, regarding the medal that began just above his right wrist. You took my warning seriously, I see. How's the hand? Cold, metal, heavy. He couldn't feel a damn thing from it. Not like had any choice, though. Better to have a metal hand than though lose something important like an eye. Why are you here? Naruto didn't answer him. He sat at his bedside, effectively blocking any hope of escape. When I first arrived in this world, he began apropos of nothing. When I became Fire Shadow, I specifically chose to straddle the line. I like helping people. A hand waved and Cecil kept one eye on it, not daring to look away. Encouraging them be the best they can be, ya know. Hero, villain, doesn't matter. I still like that, but you don't help. Those keen blue eyes fixed on him intently. Oh, no, when you see a problem, Cecil, you don't try to talk, not really. You whip out the big stick and start swinging. You are, and always have been, the destroyer of worlds. Maybe not planets, yet lives are lost under your watch all the same. Cecil bridled at the insinuation. He wasn't the bad guy here. I'd make a deal with the devil himself if it meant the safety of this planet and the people on it. You know that. HMHMM. Naruto nodded. I do. But that's where we disagree. What good is safety and security if you give up your soul? His temper sparked. Don't you start preaching to me now, you sanctimonious act. A hand found his throat, glowing an eerie, ominous shade of red. Don't worry. Clawed fingers dug into his windpipe. I'm not here to give a sermon. So why are you here? Naruto didn't answer. Instead, he let him go, stood, and took a long step backward. Cecil had half an instant to balk at this unexpected act of mercy. Then his heart and stomach clenched viciously. He tried to speak and vomited. Question mark exclamation mark quote. You're starting a war with me here, Cecil. Naruto shook his head slowly, uncaring as his body began to seize and spasm. And I'm trying to be a good sport about it all, but I'm finding it very difficult. He stepped to the window, took a hold of the curtains, and closed them. You turned a blind eye to your man Erickson. You didn't think I'd find out. Cecil tried to speak, only to vomit again. You crossed a line. Quick as his namesake, the shinobi crossed the room and pressed a clawed finger set itself to his trembling temple, ready to perforate his skull. That comes with a price. Your organization hurt my family. Is still hurting my family. He leaned closer, eyes glowing balefully in the gloom. My dear Polly may never be whole again because of your boys did to her. Your boys fucked with my family and you let them. You know the rules and so do I. What were you thinking? Seal held up a hand and tried to ward him off. Naruto slapped it down. What the hell were you thinking? He didn't reach for his gun. He could've, but didn't dare. Fire Shadow would kill him if he tried. Instead he held out both hands, palms outstretched, and simultaneously tried not to weep or vomit again. He succeeded in the latter, not so the former. Naruto let him go. Should you try and undermine me again? His voice was a low and terrible whisper that would have terrified Hades himself. Should you attempt to threaten my family in a way, or otherwise provoke me, I will be forced to accept your call to arms. And should such a day comes, you'll wish I killed you here tonight. The only reason I haven't, is because you might be of some use to me. Do you understand? Cecil nodded. It was all he dared to do. Good. Just like that, Naruto's smile returned. Now, I see you're not feeling well. Would you like me to do something about that? Horo dawned. Fire Shadow had touched him before this. Twice. What did you do? I gave you a little present. A scarlet spark flitted through the blonde's eyes. You see, the human body is a marvelous thing. It can adapt to chakra quite readily. However, it doesn't take kindly to Kurama's chakra when he's angry. And right now, he's furious. If administered in too strong a dose, said chakra becomes toxic and causes the body to shut down. He reached into one of his belt pouches and withdrew a little blue pill, pinched tight between his fingers. I suggest taking this. He held it up for him to inspect. It neutralizes excess chakra within the body. You should be a day or so. Long enough to consider your past indiscretions. Cecil fumbled for it. Naruto held it back. Say please. The word lodged in his throat. Please. Good boy. He dropped it into his palm and walked away, only to pause and look back. Oh, and Cecil, if I can get to you in your own bedroom, I can get to you anywhere. You do well to remember that. He left him there, wasted and gasping for air, weeping in a puddle of his own vomit. Robot leaned back from the screen. He'd seen it all. He dearly wished that he had not. Perhaps it would be better not to trouble Fire Shadow at this time. Nolan considered the device in his hand. Such a little thing, it looked downright harmless, really. And yet with the flick of a switch, it could change, well, everything. He had never wanted to use this communicator. This was something he'd wanted to handle himself. Something he thought he could. He'd been wrong. Terribly, horribly wrong. You see, Earth was vital to the Viltrumite Empire for 3 key reasons. 1. Its people. Any child born between someone of Earth and a Viltrumite was almost pure-blooded. Second, espionage. They virtually all but looked alike, which made infiltration all the easier. And third, perhaps the most vital reason of all. There were less than 50 pure-blooded Viltrumites left in the universe. Not enough to repopulate their people, not properly, not anytime soon, if at all. Hence the crucial importance of Earth, which made Fire Shadow's cooperation all the more vital. If it came to a fight, he would resist. Nolan knew he would. That way lay disaster. Short of throwing every single Viltrumite his way at once, and even then he didn't like their odds, there was next to no way of taking that monster down through natural means. A sneak attack had worked once before, but never again. Nolan still wanted to throttle the bastard responsible for that, whomever they were, wherever they were hiding. And they had to be hiding, make no mistake. You didn't attack one of the world's strongest men and just vanish. No, they were still out there somewhere, lurking, waiting for their moment to strike. He'd thought about doing the same thing once, not hiding of course, but attacking when Naruto wasn't prepared. Leaving the planet, slingshotting his way back around, dropping out of orbit and hitting him so hard and fast that he'd simply cease to be. Anything less would give him time to regenerate and make him even stronger. An orbital drop have been simple and not necessarily clean, but an otherwise quick and painless end for a worthy adversary. He would have given his family the same courtesy if he could, killing them painlessly as well. Fat chance of that, now. Naruto's guard was up and training could only do so much to bridge the gap. But if he could be swayed, there was potential there. He already loathed Cecil and the GDA for what they'd done to him. He might even be open to the idea of a Viltrumite takeover, so long as he and his family were let be. And why wouldn't they be? One did not poke a sleeping dragon. Fox. If given the right incentive, the right nudge. It was time. He activated the communicator. This is Nolan. He sent a coded transmission through. I require assistance with weakening this planet. Send a female if you can. Fire Shadow may be more pliable if seduced. Seduced. Right, you're a liar. It was remarkably easy. They took the bait. A faint click sounded through the receiver. And then, acknowledged. He sounds like a worthy foe. Nolan tensed, eyes widening. He'd hoped for at least one response, but two. That exceeded his expectations. The deed was done. There could be no taking it back now. It would take time for them to arrive, weeks, maybe even months, but arrive they would. And once they did, well, then things would become interesting. There was an old human saying he'd once heard. No plan survives contact with the enemy. A small part of him wondered if this one would. He thoroughly crushed the communicator in his fists and let its remains crumble into the ocean. The tide would take care of the rest, scattering the scraps away with the current to the four corners of the globe. Doubt was meaningless. This was for the best, he told himself, trying to soothe his own anxiety. One, maybe two lives, to help conquer a world. This plan wouldn't backfire, surely. This would work. Better a peaceful alternative than outright war. Keep telling yourself that, Nolan. You're slipping. Time would tell. Counters and consequences. Naruto wound his arm back and took aim. Blue eyes narrowed to distant point on the horizon. From there he cocked his arm further backward, like a pitcher ready to throw. Eve couldn't take the anticipation and giggled despite herself. Higher, higher, I wanna fly again. Her father laughed a little. All right. With a mighty whoop, he launched her upward. She actually got some decent hang time on this one, managing a somersault in midair before gravity sank its claws into her. She crashed into the ocean with a happy squeal and vanished beneath the surface. She lingered there for a moment, reveling in the cold water before a flutter kick sent her shooting upward once more. How Josh and her other siblings got sick of this, she'd never know. They'd given up hours ago, choosing to sun themselves on the beach with Mom. Not her. She wanted action. Well, that, and time with Dad. Her head broke the surface and quick as can be, just in time to see him wave her way. She could have flown back in an instant, but she didn't. Today was supposed to be a no-powers day, a chance to feel normal, to just be a kid. So she paddled her way back. A lazy backstroke brought her to the shallows soon enough. Dad said water walking and its accompanying chakra exercises would come later. But today was a day for fun. And fun Eve intended to have Tilda. As far as family vacations went, theirs was a simple one, and long overdue. Who knew how many more they might have? She couldn't help but grimace a little at that. She knew Mom wasn't better yet, not really, even 6 months later. Holly got tired easily and had next to no stamina. Dad spent an hour healing her every morning, while Brandyworth kept her on a strict diet to make certain she stayed healthy. Josh and the others hadn't noticed it yet. They were all too happy to have parents again to notice any flaws they might have. Jessica might get it, but Amanda and Luca were still too young. They just wanted to spend time with Mom. In truth, she didn't blame them. Dad was a good, Dad. Mom was trying her damnedest too, despite her condition. They both were, and she loved them to bits for it. She was still dwelling on that lovely thought when a green portal shimmered into existence a foot from her face. Dad, she recoiled and looked backward, eyes wide. We've got company, whoa. Say what you would about Naruto Uzumaki being rusty, but his reflexes were still on point. She was still speaking when a hand came down on her shoulder, yanked her out the shallows and swung her onto his shoulders, all this in the blink of an eye. From there she latched onto his back with her legs and raised both hands. Pink sparks of light flickered at her fingertips as she glared at the green gate, ready and willing to blast whatever came through. Dad grunted in approval. Good girl. She preened, made prouder for the praise. What do you think's on the other side? An arm, evidently. Clad in a green sleeve, someone's hand thrust their way through and flailed fruitlessly for purchase in the air. Finding none, redoubled its efforts tenfold. As father and daughter looked on in quiet confusion, a voice issued forth from the other side, faintly muffled with panic. A little help, please. Dad looked to her, shrugged, heaved a sigh and reached out to grab them by the wrist. Then he yanked. Someone came flying through and bounced off his chest. Oh, thank goodness. The man heaved a sigh, hands on their knees as they granted them a grateful grin. You saved my life. That universe had nothing but radioactive rats in it. She took the stranger in at a glance, trying to comprehend him. Young, dark of skin, clad in fad blue jeans, a matching shirt with a battered gray jacket flung over the latte. He sported dark hair, the barest beginnings of a beard and a easygoing smile that looked even more careworn than his shoes. Her brain caught up to his words moment later. Wait, rats, Eve blinked, mildly intrigued despite herself. Were they giant? Indeed they were, the young man laughed. The size of cars. Samantha shuddered. Ew. Dad wasn't so easily distracted. And you are. Ah, the man laughed a little and wiped a bead of sweat from his brow. Sweet heaven, where are my manners? I'm being terribly rude. My name is Angstrom Levy. The man offered them his hand, noticing her, but he only seemed to have eyes for Naruto. It's a pleasure to meet you. I've heard great things. Quote. Quote. Name didn't ring any bells. So why did Dad look so intense right now? I've heard great things. Naruto eyed the man's hand like a snake. It may well have been for all he knew. Superpowers were weird. Have we met? Not in this universe, the newcomer sketched a bow, but I'm a fan of your work. I was wondering if you'd be willing to help me with a project of mine. Ah, it all made sense now. Of course someone would seek him out now that he'd come back from the dead, as it were. Angstrom Levy wasn't the first and he probably wouldn't be the last. Regardless, he would be sent away empty-handed like the rest. He didn't have time for petty games and fancy words. I'm retired. He moved to walk past the younger man. Say goodbye to the strange man, Samantha. His daughter sketched a wave atop his back. If you'll just hear me out. Angstrom body blocked them before they could take so much as a step, quick little man that he was. I'm not doing any of this for me, I'm doing it for world peace, or well, he amended hastily, I suppose you could say multiversal peace. His eyes flashed. I once knew a man who said something similar about peace. It didn't end well for Madara. You want it to end the same for you. Angstrom remained undaunted. Now, I'm not talking about controlling minds or any of that. Really, it's quite simple. His fist rose. So is this. Fist meets face. Whoa, there. The man backpedaled with surprising speed and held up his hands, palms splayed to show himself harmless. I come in peace. Well, a pause now, as he touched a finger to his chin. I suppose this version of me does. I can't really speak for any of my counterparts. I'm sure you understand. Ha. Sorry. Much to his confusion, the strange man clasped both hands before his face and bowed to him actually bowed. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's just, you're one of the strongest people on this planet and there's no one else I can turn to. Eve made a commiserating noise from her perch on his back. Just this planet. To the best of my knowledge, little lady. Angerstom nodded her way. I can't speak for the rest of the galaxy. It's a big multiverse out there. There it was again, that word. The hell was a multiverse? Quote. I know, I'm rambling. He hadn't thought it possible for the poor man to bow even deeper, but he proved him wrong. It's just such a pleasure to meet you, the real you. I heard all about you when I was younger, grew up on tales of your deeds. Then you vanished off the face of the earth and now you're back. You look good for a dead man. Flattery won't get you far. Aha, so it will get me somewhere. It was hard not to like this chatty little human. He had an amiable air about him. Let's hear him out. Eve gave him a nudge. He seems nice. A lot of people seemed nice until they weren't. And yet. Stop bowing, already, I'll hear ya out. Excellent. Angstrom snapped upright, beaming ear to ear. I'm something of a pacifist you see, and I'm still working out the kinks, but a couple years from now, I'm going to try something grand and I'd appreciate your help. I've been entertaining the idea for a while, but frankly seeing you in those what did you call them? Naruto tilted his head. Shadow clones. Right, the wiry man snapped his fingers. It made me curious. I won't ask you to help me for free, of course. I'd be more than happy to assist the Mahler twins in having a look at your wife. Even made a strangled nose. Naruto's brow shot into his hair. How do you? Angstrom's shrugged. I keep my ear to the ground. And what can you do? Quite a few things. Angstrom wiggled his fingers, green sparks skittering from his fingertips. I'm a clever and resourceful man. I'm sure between the three of us, we'll figure something out. Naruto could feel Samantha looking at him, feel his daughter's hope. I think this might be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. But if you betray us... No, no. Angstrom waved him off anxiously. I've seen what happens to your enemies. I prefer to have my organs on the inside, not inside out. Thank you very much. How did you even find us? Eve posited. Quote. Persistence. My dear, Angstrom sketched a bow, the very picture of poise. In many realities your father is either dead, crippled, not on this planet, or not as nice. Naruto held back a wince. Define not nice. Levi looked back to the beach where Polly and the children were basking in the sun. Can I be honest with you? Naruto cracked his knuckles. Yeah, well, if you know what's good for you. You're my third stop, actually. And third time's the charm, so. Eve raised her hand. What happened to other two? The silence was his answer. Think of it this way, Angstrom held up a finger. In the multiverse, there are as man different versions of you and me as there are stars in the sky. Some universes have mind differences, others, it's like night and day. Take you for instance, you and Cecil are on the outs in this dimension, but in another you're his loyal lapdog, lapping up every word he feeds you. Naruto winced, but Levi wasn't finished. He tells you to jump, you say how high. You even destroyed the moon. Why? Because your master asked you to. His lip curled in disgust at the very notion of it. Some of that anger must have shown through, because the vaunted visionary quickly changed topic. In another, you were president of the whole damn country. Harem and all, he turned me down. Come to think of it, I did stumble on a universe where you were a woman. She turned me down, of course, she was busy running a revolution. She. Dad, Eve tilted her head curiously, what's a harem? No, absolutely not, I'll tell you never. Don't you mean when I'm older? ... Samantha, honey, be a dear and look after your mother, would you? She pouted, but I wanna stay and listen. Samantha Eve Uzumaki, get. She got. Naruto watched her retreat with a rueful sigh, coughed into a fist, and turned to face Angstrom once more, face red. How do I know you're telling the truth? You can sense my remaining honesty, can't you? I know you have the ability to sense a lie. That's one of your gifts as I understand it. That's right. Well, he spread his arms wide, expression serene. Am I lying? He wasn't, remarkably. Every word was the truth. I'd like to see these so-called worlds of yours. I'm sure you would, Levi laughed. But if I were to tell you of every wrong in the multiverse, we'd be here till we're old and gray. Another thought tickled the back of his brain. You said you could see other versions of ourselves. What about Omni-Man? Levi's face closed down and he knew at once he'd said the wrong thing, somehow. Touchy subject. Complicated subject, came the counter. How about this? Help me with my pet project and I'll tell you all you could ever want to know about Nole Grayson. Even some things you might not want to know. With that, his curiosity was piqued. Why not now? Because, despite the vast difference in strength, Levi stood his ground. He respected him for that. There are some things I know better than to mess with, and I don't like the idea of breaking time. We've got a few years, and you're a good counter to him. Physically and mentally. Counter. That's part of the reason, you see. I'm hoping this world will turn out better than the rest. Naruto rolled his eyes at the remark. How could this man ever be a threat? He seemed so nice, so harmless. And all this talk of other universes had him intrigued, so much so that he nearly missed what came next. I'll be in touch. Here's my cell. He had his number offered in short order. Oh, and one last thing. He looked up, paled, and hastened through a portal. It didn't take Naruto long to realize why. He'd sensed him coming. A sudden rush of wind heralded a new arrival. He looked up and found a familiar figure descending from on high, a man wearing red and white. Nolan. His brow furrowed a little, both briefly baffled and instantly suspicious. I didn't know you used this beach. On occasion, his old rival turned friend descended to greet him. He looked almost embarrassed. What's wrong? He frowned a bit. It's not like you to be this quiet. Well, Debbie wanted the kids to meet. She was persistent. His eyes lit up, warming to the change of topic. Think they'll get along? Huh. Pretty girl. Very pretty girl. Hi. Said girl clasped both hands behind her back and smiled at Mark, much to his chagrin. I'm Samantha. Nice to meet you. Mark. He stumbled over his own name for a second and finally managed a grin. Mark Grayson. The girl grinned at him and something in Mark's heart lurched. Wanna play a game? Maybe mom was right. This might not be so bad. Do you, like football? Her eyes lit up. Actually lit up. I love football. And just like that, it was love at first sight. But guys, I am ending it here. If you enjoyed, hit the like button for the next upload. The like goal is 7 likes. But I am out and will see you in the next video. Stay blessed.